Hey everybody, how are you all doing? Oh my days, it's all going off in the UK. Can you say explosive? What? Channel 4, an independent broadcaster, partnered with the Times to do an in depth investigation into the source of the royal family's income. And when we say it is devastating, believe me, they literally stripped these people naked. Guys, this is going to be a little bit of a long one because when I say it's going to be a little bit of a long one, I don't mean it's going to be a long video. I mean the news cycle concerning the royal family's wealth is going to be a long one because the debunking and spinning has begun already. Let's not forget. Oh, in case you were not aware, for those who were not aware, uh, the royal this documentary was supposed to have come out twice. It should have come out earlier, but the royal family has prevented this documentary from coming out twice until Channel 4 and the Times were able to get the documentary through this time. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, is it devastating. Shall we say devastating? It is hugely devastating. So, what are they all talking about? And what is the fuss all about? You know, we all knew that the royal family is wealthy. I have always said it on my channel that the royal family is very wealthy and that their income, I think I even mentioned it in my last video, which would have been just day before yesterday. Yes, when I did say a summary of the royal family's wealth is that when people say that it's taxpayers payers money, it's not really taxpayers money. They say that it's an indoctrination from the media, but it's not really taxpayers money. I am so happy to be vindicated because even the media have confirmed exactly what I have been saying over time. How? All right, I'm just going to show you. Bear with. All right, let's look at this article, which is the written form of the documentary which aired today. All right, I have drilled it down, I have summarized, I have condensed it as much as I can so that my American compadres will understand the import of what I'm trying to discuss today. All right, so it says the Duchy files show that the royals charge for the right to cross rivers in the UK. They own most of the land in the UK. This is where they get most of their wealth from. Mhm. And don't forget that land is not just defined by the ground, the sand, the earth, it's also defined by the air above and below the land. Okay. So the royal family charge for access to cross rivers, offload cargo onto the shore, run cables under their beaches, operate schools and charities, and even dig graves. They earn revenue from toll bridges, ferries, sewage pipes, my friends, sewage pipes, churches, village halls, pubs, distilleries, gas pipelines, boat moorings, open cast and underground mines, car parks, rental homes, and wind turbines. Personally, I am not even disturbed by, let me say, about 85% of it because I already knew about it. But it is quite embarrassing to see the depth to which they went. They didn't even make any attempts to hold themselves in integrity as so-called members of the royal family. Their PR has been, when we say their PR is poor, I think it just means that we don't understand how bad things are behind the scenes. Because if we knew how bad the things are behind the scenes, perhaps we would be saying that their PR is excellent. Or what do I mean by that? Okay, let's go on. They say that the royal family operates as commercial landlords while having a special agreement with the treasury exempting them from paying tax on their corporate profits. What did I say before? When people keep saying that they're spending taxpayers' money, is this taxpayers' money? Look at the confirmation here. The duchies are not directly funded by the taxpayer. You see it written here? I think somebody needs to give me my flowers, and some people need to clap for me in the comment section because I always get people pushing back at me and telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. But look at it written in black and white. It says the duchies are not directly funded by the taxpayer, but leases and contracts in the king's and prince's own name show that they make money from millions of pounds a year by charging the army, the navy, the NHS, the prison service, and state schools to use their land, rivers, and seashores. Amazing. It's amazing to me. All right, let's go on so that I don't keep you here all day. I'm not going to read everything word for word. I have highlighted the most egregious bits for your pleasure. Okay. All right. So they said the royals' formal duties are paid each year by the sovereign grant, which is what a lot of people say. They say that this is the bit that they say is the taxpayers' money. But even the media now have to come clean and explain exactly what I've been saying. They say this is funded by an agreed what? Agreed percentage of the income that the government run crown estate makes by managing land surrendered by the monarch 260 years ago. And they go on to say next year, the grant is meant to give the royals £132 million. Welcome to the chat, Julie. Welcome to the chat. Thanks for being here. Okay. We already know that William makes 23.6 million pounds from the Duchy of Cornwall, while the king makes 27 million pounds from the Duchy of Lancaster. Okay? And what are we talking about when we talk about these figures? We are talking about the rent that they make from the various properties in the various duchies. Okay. So in the Duchy of Lancaster, which is the duchy that belongs to the king, it holds 1,874 properties. That's what the king owns. That's where he gets this 27.4 million pounds. And then the Duchy of Cornwall has I thought I had the figure about it's thousands of properties as well. Oh, sorry, I got it wrong. So for the Duchy of Lancaster, which is the one that the king owns, it holds 3,536 properties. That's where the 27 point something million for the king comes from. And meanwhile, William's one, which is the Duchy of Cornwall, holds 1,874 properties. Woo! My God. My God. Remember, guys, when I was telling you that when the media want to distract us from something, then they come up with these figures. Well, this is an agenda here as well. But what I've always tried to highlight is the other bit when they keep on saying, well, William does nothing and the king does nothing and the royal family does nothing. In their contract with the government, they are not required to lift a finger for the money they receive. The money they receive is based on the percentage of the land which the land agreement between the government and the royal family. Do you guys get it now? Do you guys get the confirmation now? At least it's not just me, poor little me, saying this. Have I rubbed it in enough? I'm so happy to be vindicated. You don't even know how lonely it is out here because I often feel like I'm a jaguar, right? Trying to tell people the truth, trying to tell people that all these stories, even this one, is a distraction, but we'll go through it because it's very juicy and very eye opening. Um, so they go on to talk about the properties that um, the king and William own. They own 180,000 acres of land in the UK. This is for their various duchies, the Duchy of Lancaster and the Duchy of Cornwall. Ooh, oh dear. The Duchy files also shows the royals charge for the right to cross rivers in the UK. All right. Wait, hold on. Before we move on to that, so we just talked about them owning 180,000 acres of land, and because on some part of it they operate as commercial companies, but they do not pay tax. They receive a special tax status. This means that they don't pay any capital gains tax or corporation tax, which everybody else in the UK has to pay. Okay. Um, they do pay income tax based on the money that they get from the crown estate. Remember that there are two separate sources of income for them in respect of what we're talking about. So they get money from the duchy, which is separate, and then they get money from the crown estate into the sovereign purse, whatever. That money separate. So when we talk about 23.4 million from the duchy, that's just a little part of the money they get. They also get money from the crown purse. Let's just call it that for ease of reference in this conversation. Okay. The money they get from there, they say they say that they pay tax on it, but they refuse to disclose how much tax that they pay. Okay. Mhm. Right. So apart from this, another source of income for them is that they charge Britain's warships. They charge the army for the refueling of Britain's warships. They say on its website, the Duchy of Lancaster states that it is completely self-financing and does not rely on taxpayers' money. Okay, the Duchy of Cornwall also says that's the King's one and William's one says that it's not a public body, nor is it funded by the taxpayer. However, the duchy files reveal that both the monarch and the prince have contracts with taxpayer funded public services. So that's where the taxpayer side comes in. And this is what I would agree is the taxpayer aspect of the funds that they receive. It's not that there is any pot which they receive money from, which is actually taxpayer funded money. So indirectly, through the government contracts, they receive taxpayer funded money. Okay. They also, let's look at this. William and his father, they both trained at the Naval College as cadets. However, they own the land which houses the Navy in the UK. The lease that they have with the Ministry of Defense for housing the Navy, oh no, sorry, for housing, they own the sea line around the land. They charge the Navy £900,000 for the right to moor their boats on the waters surrounding the Navy College. The Navy College. And 30 miles down the coast at Plymouth, the Prince's Duchy owns the shoreline next to Devonport, which is Western Europe's largest naval clear submarines. William is the Commodore in Chief of the submarine service. In 2017, a 125-year deal was struck that required the Navy to pay the Duchy £10,000 a year for access to its own oil depot so it can refuel its warships. Its own, its own. They wouldn't even say that this is a service that serves the country. So we have charged them for the land. That should be enough. No, they had to charge them for access to their own oil. Oh my days. They even went, is that's not all. At the same base, the Navy has been paying the prince a further £3,250 a year to use a jetty. And the Duchy's lease specified that the MOD had to spend at least £900,000 on the jetty's construction, even though its ownership would eventually revert back to the prince when the lease ends. So they want people to spend money on fixtures which will revert to the grantor, that's the person who is granting the lease at the end of the contract. That's how they acquired so much property. These are all the things and tricks, legalities and tricks, technical skills that they employ to acquire so much property. Because even if they don't live 100 years, their next generation will come to meet it and it becomes part of their revenue. And regarding the Navy, they said when the Navy wanted to deploy navigation beacons on the sea at Plymouth Sound, the Duchy charged them £100. Look at how petty they are, charging even £100 for them to deploy navigation beacons. Oh my god. Going further, they said a few miles inland lies Dartmouth National Park, a key training ground for the army. The king is the head of the armed forces and the prince is a lieutenant colonel in the army. Yet, William's Duchy, which owns 67,000 acres of Dartmoor, is charging the military for the right to train on the moorland under a 21-year deal struck when Charles was Duke of Cornwall. The Duchy describes this as a private arrangement between landlord and tenant. When they dispatches investigation sought disclosure of the lease under the Freedom of Information Act, the MOD provided them with this redacted document. Can you guys see it? The date that this agreement was struck was blacked out. Look at it. The prince's name, this is Charles's name was supposed to be here, blacked out. The date, and how much this lease was blacked out. Also, in the middle of the national park stands HMP Dartmoor. This is it below. Can you guys see below? This is one of the largest prisons in the UK. The Duchy of Cornwall, that is, William owns the land on which the Secular World Prison stands and has opted to charge for its use. The latest lease, struck in 2020, shortly before King Charles became king, lists the landlord's name as him, and then they charge the Ministry of Justice £1.5 million a year. That is going to be £37.5 million over the 25-year period of the lease. The annual rent is more than. So when people are saying, if you're talking about homelessness, go ahead and open up the palaces. I'm sure William is just shaking his head and laughing at people. You guys must be crazy. You guys must be crazy. You guys must be crazy. Do you know how much I charge for the land where the prison stands? And then you were saying that if I want to really prove my credibility as an advocate for homelessness, I need to open up the palaces up for free. Are you nuts? Oh my gosh, it's bad. Also, but it's bad, but it's not even the worst bit. Okay, the worst bit, the Duchy Files, which is the name that Channel 4 gave to the investigation, right? So the Duchy Files reveals more deals in which the royal estates charge for public services, and this starts with the NHS. Okay, one part that I found interesting was where they said staff have described how William directs them 7 days a week via WhatsApp. There will be weekends where my WhatsApp messages will be in double figures and I will be very responsive. What did they say about Megan sending an email by, what was it, 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock, 6:30, and that she was a bully because she did so? Let me look at your comments. Uh, all right. So then the Duchy Files reveals more deals in which the royal estates charge public services. So this is where they talk about how much Charles charges the NHS. They said, you guys listen to this kind of deception, this kind of grifting. There is shameless, and they're not alone. They cannot manage this alone. They have a group of people who are helping them to achieve this. This is why they did everything they could to keep the Conservative Party in power. It says Duchy Files reveals more deals in which the royal estates charge public services. In January last year, the Duchy of Lancaster, remember, Lancaster is Charles's one, okay? It said it was pleased to be of assistance when Guy's and St. Thomas NHS Foundation Trust, which is one of the biggest NHS hospitals in London, which is the center of, let's just call it the center of England. London is one of the biggest cities. So Charles's Duchy says it was pleased to be of assistance when Guys and St. Thomas NHS said that they needed to find garage space for a new fleet of electric vehicles it was buying to tackle ambulance waiting times. That sounds great, doesn't it? That sounds fabulous. However, the contract revealed that to use the 27,000 square foot two-story warehouse, the NHS is paying rent of 829,000 plus to the King's Duchy. This will amount to over 11.4 million pounds over 15 years. You guys can't even imagine how egregious this particular one is. Everybody knows that the NHS is almost broken due to lack of funds. And yet, the royal family that has so much money, has money pouring out of his ears, eyes, nose, and tongue, they still find it fit to charge the NHS just to store their vehicles. The NHS is so broken that they don't even have enough staff The NHS is so broken, they don't have enough doctors, they don't have enough nurses. The doctors' salaries have not, it wasn't until the Labour government came in that they've been able to negotiate an increment of salaries of the doctors in the NHS for the last 14 years. Last 14 years, guys, last 14 years. And yet, the king, the monarch, supposed leader of the UK, at least spiritual leader of the UK, has land that he's charging the NHS, who don't have the money, 11.4 million pounds for. Not only that, the NHS are overpaying. They said that the lease shows that the rent charged by the duchy from the NHS is 67% more than the £15 per square foot that was being paid by the Metropolitan Police, who occupied this same building the previous year. Guys, it continues. In 2011, Charles struck a deal to charge St. John Ambulance. This is another part of the NHS, okay? Oh, sorry. Charles struck a deal to charge St. John Ambulance, a charity of which the king is now patron, a one-off payment of £60,000 to lease a garage in Poundbury, his duchy-built model town in Dorset. They even charged they even charged the charity for money. And he's supposed to be the patron of this charity. What is the job of a patron again? Please tell me in the comment section. Please, child, tell me in the comment section. It was not just the NHS, it was also schools in the UK. Because, as we said, the royal family own most of the land in the UK. So, of course, if they're looking to build schools or open up schools or register new schools, whichever way you want to put it, there's no way to avoid the royal family because they own most of the land. But you would expect that as a royal family with so much money, that they would give at least a rebate to maybe businesses that offer social services, like a school, for instance. But no, school. Why? They said the Duchy of Cornwall struck a deal in 2017 to charge Devon County Council at least £319,000 for the right to use Princeton Community Primary School. Primary school, primary school. For the other schools, there are other fees like £60,000 for Farrington Gurney Church. Um, there are other schools like Little Dew Church Primary School had to agree deals with the duchy worth 3,800 and 3,500 over 10 years to be paid to be permitted to play sport, not even for the actual or the main school, a place where they can play sport. Remember how I told you that the royal family own most of the land? Yeah. Another school, Lanston College, pays 189,000 over 30 years to use the school. This is the part that is disgusting to me. How are you not able to offer the social services a rebate on your fees? At least don't charge them market rate. But they're charging 67% more than market rate for each of their properties. Okay, it goes on. The royal family even makes money on toll bridges. So, again, back to the fact that the royal family own most of the land. So, even where roads are built, the royal family owns the road basically. In order for them to get some of their money back for having their land taken from them to build the roads, what they do is that they enter into an agreement with the companies that run the toll booths on the land. Look at this. The port, the royal family earned £150,000 per year from tolls. And then they said the Duchy of Lancaster, which is King Charles's one, earns £50,000 from the Isle of Man government for the use of the Mersey Ferry dock. They own the land. Even for the sewage, they own the land. And so they charge the companies, United Utilities, for the part for the for being able to pass pipes underneath their land. They can't even give up £300. Look at this. It is owned by United Utilities, which pays the duchy £300 a year, which grants United Utilities the right to pass their pipes under their land to discharge effluent into River Mersey arising from the use of the tenants adjoining sewage treatment works at Sandock. What else? Oh, the wind. Um, okay, so in 2011, the Duchy struck a deal that will make it a total of 4.5 million over 50 years for the owner of the wind farm, just to allow this single underground cable to run under the shore. Okay, we've talked about that. Okay, we've talked about that. Let's talk about other things. 11. All right. So, and so on and so it goes, guys. The royal family own they have vast holdings in the UK. Vast holdings. I'm not going to go over every single thing because I think it would just be boring. I have just highlighted the most pertinent parts. But there's one part that I am still okay. Here we are. Um, I am going to talk about, which is the part where it gives the details of how the royal family charged charities in the UK for their properties. And even though the properties were hard up and they had to close down, they didn't give the charities any rebate. So this is where it says the duchy owns Camelford House, a 1960 office block seen below. The picture is not here. That occupies a prime spot in London next to the M16 building overlooking the Thames. It has become known by letting agents as charity towers because so many charitable organizations have rented offices there, including Macmillan Cancer Support, the hospice charity Marie Curie, Comic Relief, Landmine Action, and the World Society for the Protection of Animals. The king, get this, guys. So the king is patron of Macmillan, Marie Curie, and William has appeared on television to promote Comic Relief. Leases show the duchy owns the freehold to Camelford House as the charity's superior landlord, and then they let the building to a head tenant who is Thames Water, which then sublets the offices. The rents are set by Thames Water at a commercial rate. Under the contract, the duchy receives a third of the rent collected from the building, at least 22 million over the past 19 years. Over the same period, the charity's rent payments for offices in the building amounted to, get this, 16.8 million from Macmillan, 10.3 million from Comic Relief, and 9.1 million from Marie Curie. The rent on offices leased by Macmillan from 2005 to this year were increased over that period by close to 90%. The charity left the building this summer in order to downsize and cut costs. Marie Curie has also moved out, complaining in its annual report of an onerous lease. Last week, The two charities said they believed they had paid rent in line with market rates and had always dealt with the head tenant when negotiating the sums they paid. Thames Water said our rents are competitive and benchmarked against market value. And this is what they have always done, it looks like. So, in order for them to avoid public scrutiny, they will lease their property to some other person as a leaseholder, and then the leaseholder who actually has possession of the land but not forever ownership of the land then now sets a charge for the use of the land. So that if you are asked, if for instance you go directly to land registry, that is the land that holds all the information of who owns what land in the UK, they will tell you, oh, Thames Water owns this land. But when you look deeper to say, okay, who is the superior landlord of this land? Royal family, but you don't see it at a first glance. One degree of separation. They also talked about they also talked about William now being able to take possession on any property in Cornwall when an owner dies without an heir and without a will. And so on and so forth. Guys, it is explosive. It is very, very explosive. And that's about as much as I'm going to go on this article. Um, let me see what you're saying in. Let me see what you're saying in the chat. Uh, what's this? They have taken all the money in the country. That's why everyone comes to America to make money. For sure. Mama Jane says, Vinny Blair, hi, how you doing? Thanks for being here. Are we not glad that Harry is out of the UK? In fact, I am doing a praise dance right now. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Lorna says the UK does not have a royal family. They have a parasite sucking the life out of them. They are disgusting. The part that disgusted me the most was, it's not even the fact that they don't pay tax. It's not even the fact that they have so much land, because it's one thing to know it intellectually, but to actually see things written down in black and white is an almost like a shock to the system. But the fact that they wouldn't even like give social services a rebate, like NHS, they come out and clap, and then they get journalists to take photographs of them when they're clapping for the NHS. How about not charging them rent? How about not charging them rent? How about not charging them rent? How about not charging the schools rent? Yeah? How about that? And we don't even care about the other parts. If someone puts a pipe through your property, you have the right to charge them rent. Okay, that's fine. And you have privilege because the land belongs to you and you have a special agreement. Okay. What about the peoples, the social services, the schools, the police, the prisons? Huh? What about them? Lorna says, what's this? A third. That's robbery, Julie says. There's nothing left to pay utilities. I was a property manager. Thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us. Thank you very much. Like, if you know how much you have to spend taking care of a property, you would know that a third is definitely leaving the people with nothing. And yet, as genuine Kathy says, Charles says he didn't have money to pay for Megan, that he was already taking care of kids. Sharon says, you're sharing this with us. I am shaking with madness. Abolish, abolish the monarchy, abolish. They are parasitic life form. This is not funny. They are the best grifters in the universe. They need to open a school for people who want to learn how to grift. Yeah, yeah. And this is just the bit that they have done on Charles. Okay. In my next video, I am going to be discussing the expose on William as a slum landlord. Guys, in all of this, for the people in the UK, all of this is shocking, is disgusting. I completely agree that if the royal family are going to continually use the people and not give anything back in return, they should be abolished. They should be abolished. They should give something back. They should give something back. When they're going to visit charities, they go empty handed. That is a direct representation of what they even do also behind the scenes, as we can see. When the people are there, like the charity bosses, grown men and women who have to leave their houses, come to work and pretend that they have so much respect for the royal family. Meanwhile, they know that these people are shaving them close, they are shaving everything that they could have. Probably that which they should be using to take care of the people who the charity was open for, they are spending it on rent. But yet they have to come out, smile, put on a pretty dress, pretend as though everything is fine and that they have so much respect and honor because they can't do anything else. There is a huge repercussion if they were to buck against the system. They would be shunned. Look at how they have treated Harry, and Harry has so much wealth. Then imagine the common man who is just trying to get by on £10 per hour. Hmm. Anyway, I'm glad that the process has started, and this will definitely get a lot of people talking, a lot more people talking than have ever spoken before, because this, as they have said, this is the first time that people have actually had details of how the royal family is taking money from them. They always knew about the sovereign grant, but that is so much shrouded in secrecy that it seems like very abstract and very far away. Like it doesn't, we all know that the land belongs to the UK, the royal family before now, and they get a percentage. So I think for the most part, I think mentally that's where a lot of people are when it comes to the income of the royal family. Now that they've seen this breakdown, the rumblings are definitely going to go loud, going to grow louder. Definitely. So, guys, don't forget to join me in my next one. I think I will I have to make a series now because we have to talk about William as a slum landlord. We have to talk about William as a slum landlord tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Or it might have to be. Should we do it tomorrow? Tell me in the comment section. Should we do William tomorrow? I was planning to start my spare, and you know what? I'm going to do my spare review regardless. I think it will have to be Monday. We'll have to continue from Monday because I have already put the spare review in my calendar for tomorrow, and there are other things that need to flow from the spare review. If I push it back, it will have a domino effect. So, continuation of this conversation will start on Monday. Tomorrow is the spare review. We're starting. I'm also going to be giving my channel members an update on progress I have made so far. It's going to be, I see fun times ahead. I see a lot of progress being made. It's going to be so much fun to have the conversation tomorrow. So if you're a channel member, make sure you're here. One of the things that is coming out of the research project, which is currently going on, which is the petition to file the mission to file a petition at the UN, one of the things that is coming out of that is a fundraising attempt, which is basically where we're going to with this square quiz championship. So it will make sense as you see things unfold, but I think it's the first of its kind anyway. I just felt like we need to do something different because the Sussexes have turned a corner. Even this that has happened, this exposure of the royal family has even helped the Sussexes level the playing field, at least psychologically, mentally. They may not be out of power completely, but now they have to spend a lot more of their energy cleaning up their own mess rather than paying attention to Harry and Meghan, right? So a loss for them is a win for us, right? So keep your eyes peeled because tomorrow is going to be a busy day with a spare review. It's going to be a busy day with updates for the channel members. And yeah, I can't wait to share all the plans that I have with you guys. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you guys so much for being here. Love you all to the moon and back. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.